Hello, I'm Tom Arceneaux, Mayor of Shreveport. I wanted to give you some facts and information about the upcoming bond election in Shreveport. First of all, let me tell you that election, which involves 3 bond propositions, will be on April 27th, just 2 weeks away as I'm speaking today. Early voting starts April 13th and will continue through April 20th at the 2 regular locations for early voting. And we urge everyone to go out and vote. This is an important decision for the people of Shreveport. What I'd like to do today is to kind of give you an idea of why and why now, how this came about, what it involves, and how it will impact your pocketbook. So let me go through those 4 things with you very briefly. The why and why not is best explained by this chart. This graph shows the total property tax millage. Now, why am I showing property tax millage? Bonds are supported by property taxes. So when we go out, when we ask you to approve a bond election, what we're asking you to do is to authorize us to go borrow money that will be supported by your property tax revenues. To pay off those bonds, we enact and levy a tax millage, a property tax millage. So there are 2 different tax millages that we use in the city of Shreveport. One is for operations, and that one is this blue line where it says operations. And you can see that it has remained steady. It is right now 17.77 mils. That has remained steady. If you look at this, it's almost a flat line, and this starts in 2003 and continues until 2026. The other millage that we have is for debt service. We can only assess millages to pay the debt service on outstanding bonds. That is, the debt service means the principal and interest that's due in a particular year. So if our bonds are being paid off because we haven't borrowed money, and we haven't borrowed money because we haven't invested in our infrastructure, then the debt service millage goes down. And that's what has happened in Shreveport from 2003 until today. The orange line here is the debt service line. As you can see, it has consistently dropped from 2003 until 2024, and then we've extended it to 2025 and 26, and I'll explain why I've done that in a little bit. What that means is that we have steadily decreased our investment in infrastructure since 2003. There's a slight bump in 2011, which was the last time that the people of Shreveport approved a significant bond issue, besides the one in 2021 that was only for public safety. That's the only one that was approved in 2021. So what does that mean, and why is that important to you? Ecclesiastes 3:3 says there is a time to tear down and a time to build up. If you're not building up infrastructure because it has continual wear and tear, you are tearing down infrastructure. And that's what's been happening. And if you drive along Shreveport streets, you'll see that that's exactly what has occurred over the last 20 plus years. We are in desperate need of significant street improvement, drainage improvement, water and sewer improvement, and improvement to our public buildings and public safety institutions. So let me go through that for you. The longer we wait to make these improvements, the harder it's going to be and the more they are going to cost. So the sooner that we could get into the bond market and get working on these projects, the better off we're going to be, both from a construction standpoint, from an infrastructure standpoint, as well as from a financial standpoint. So that's the why and the why now. What about the how? How did we come up with these projects that we're recommending for you to vote for on April 27th? In August of 2023, we determined that the best way to do this would be to appoint a citizen-based capital improvements committee to look at what the possible projects were, and then to determine what projects the committee would recommend to the City Council and a total bond package for the committee to recommend to the City Council. I appointed 5 members at large who were a diverse group, and then I asked each council member to appoint 2 people from their district to serve on this committee. So there were 14 members that were appointed by the City Council, 5 members appointed by the mayor, and then the Central Trades and Labor Council asked for a representative for labor, and we added that. So there were 20 citizens that were on that committee. They held 18 public meetings, including 4 listening sessions, so that they could determine exactly what the best priorities were to recommend to the City Council. They first heard from department heads who said, these are the things that we think are important for our particular departments. And the 5 departments that generally use public infrastructure dollars are water and sewer, public works, SPAR, fire, and police. So those department heads made presentations. These are what our needs are. That started the list. Then individual members of the committee had ideas for projects that might be included, and they made those added to the list. And then in the listening sessions, individual concerned citizens said that they wanted particular projects. Most of those were street and drainage projects, and they added those to the list. So ultimately the list grew to about $450 million. We knew that was too long a list. So we asked the committee to make recommendations of a smaller list and determine priorities. I am pleased to say that the committee based its decisions on the needs and priorities of the people rather than on politics. And so they made a recommendation. The recommendation is, so that's the how, that's how we came about this. So what does it entail? There's $125,100,000 in street projects. This includes things like medical corridor improvements along Kings Highway to improve the access to our medical services. Beautification of Monkhouse Drive. Monkhouse Drive, of course, is the first thing people see at the airport and the last thing they see when they leave for the airport. So it's very important that that gateway to our city be attractive. There are many others, and I would refer you to our website to get an idea what those other projects are. The streets projects alone are 3 single-spaced pages, so there are quite a number of them, including $52.8 million in neighborhood streets. Many of our neighborhood streets have never had any work done to them. Some of them were annexed into the city. They don't meet city standards, and this is a first attempt to rectify some of the underserved neighborhoods and to provide service to some of the underserved neighborhoods in Shreveport. I will also say that if you look at the 7 council districts, they're almost equally divided in terms of dollars being allocated to each council district. That was not a goal, but it certainly was a nice result that we achieved through the work of the committee. So that's streets. Second is water and sewer. As you know, we have an aging water and sewer infrastructure system. We have been doing a lot of work on the sewer side because we're part of a sewer consent decree that requires us to eliminate sanitary sewer overflows, or SSOs, by a certain period of time. But we also need to be paying attention to our water system. The first $20 million in these projects has to do with the Amos water treatment plant. Amos is where we take in the water from Cross Lake and we process it to send it out to you so that when you turn that tap on, you're getting clean, fresh, safe, good tasting water. That's very important to you, and it's very important to us as a society. That's $20 million. In addition to that, there's a $25 million project out in District E along Kingston Road. It's a 5-mile sewer replacement program, and it's the single biggest project in the bond package. There's also a $12 million improvement to the Corby's lift station. Kirby's Lift Station is responsible for 20% of our SSOs, and by improving that lift station, we will eliminate 20% of the sanitary sewer overflows, which are when the water bubbles up in the street and it's not exactly water. That's a sanitary sewer overflow, and we're trying to eliminate those, and we're actually required to eliminate those under the consent decree. So in addition to that, there's the addition of a $10 million elevated storage tank in southeast Shreveport. Southeast Shreveport has a need based on water pressure for a new tower. The other thing about a tower is it will help to equalize pressure throughout the city. So that tower, although it will be in southeast Shreveport, should also assist with the with water pressure throughout the city. Many of our buildings that we think of as relatively new are not relatively new at all. The average age of a city building that we own is about 47 years. So we have lots of buildings that are either beyond their ordinary useful life or are in need of significant work. One of those is the Police and Fire Academy. The Police and Fire Academy, of course, is where we train our firefighters and our police officers, and also retrain our firefighters and police officers. It was built in the 1960s, and the result of that is it looks like a building that was built in the 1960s and hasn't had any significant upgrades. So there's $4 million for upgrade of that facility. We're in hopes that that will be a significant help in our recruiting of fire and police officers. Okay, included in the $49.3 million under Proposition 3 are the Police Academy and Fire Academy, which I've already explained. In addition to that, there are fire station renovations at 4 fire stations throughout the city, and a new fire station number 3. That's the one on near Fern Avenue at 70th Street. It simply has, the need for that has outgrown the facility, and we need to replace it. In addition, for parks, there are swimming pool replacements and tennis upgrades. There's a $5 million improvement of Cargill Park to put in turf fields, as well as to improve the BMX course that's out there that's widely used. There are significant improvements in Princess Park. I know from the meetings that I attended that one of the big concerns about Bill Cockrell Park is the lack of parking. There is $500,000 in this bond issue to improve the parking and increase the parking at Bill Cockrell Park. Among our public buildings are Municipal Auditorium, Hirsch Coliseum, Independence Stadium, the Convention Center, Riverview Theater, Scyport, and citywide parking improvements, in addition to a new roof at the aquarium. People have asked me, why would we improve the facilities at Scyport and the aquarium? Those are very significant tourist attractions for the city of Shreveport, and they operate frequently at a loss. And as a result of that, we need to maintain those facilities and still have them available primarily for the children, not only of our citizens, but of our visitors. We need to make sure that they stay open. They're very important to the tourism fabric of the city of Shreveport. Finally, how does it hit your pocketbook? For 24, 25, and 26, there should be no tax increases at all as a result of this bond issue. In 27 and 28, there are small increases, 7.68 mils in 27, and then 10.68 mils, which will be the maximum increase, 10.68 mils in 2028 and going forward to pay for these bonds. How does that hit your pocketbook? If you have a house assessed at $100,000, that means $6.40 a month will be added to your property tax bill in 2027 and $8.90 a month in 2028. If you have a $200,000 assessed home, it's $12.80 in 2027, $17.80 in 2028. And if you have a home assessed at $300,000, it's $19.20 in 2027 and $26.70 in 2028. We believe that these are very modest increases. It will take, if you go back to this chart, it will put us at about here on this orange chart so that you can see it's right in the middle of where we've been historically with debt service. We believe that that is something that you should seriously consider as making an investment in your city. We only can do capital improvement projects with borrowed money. We don't have a savings account. We're not permitted to have a savings account to save up for projects that have not been designated. So the only way we can do improvements, capital improvements for your city, is through borrowing money and levying property taxes. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the three projects. $125,100,000 for streets and drainage, $80 million for water and sewer, $49,300,000 for police, fire, and SPAR. This is the time for you to consider seriously examining these and determining whether or not you will support them. We urge you seriously to consider these three propositions, and please make sure and go vote on April 27th.